Hello everybody, this is Ronald Konijnenburg for Interdops, a superb company, and today I would like to give you some more insights on WavePath. So we have already an excellent demo which shows the workflow, but actually what I want to deep dive in today is the reporting part and also the push to Datasphere, because that's also part of the package. Um, so we actually have a couple of ways in order to migrate your scope into a data platform. So for instance, if I would just generate something, so I'm just going to take one of the multi-providers we have, gonna name it something like tests, generate the SQL. Then basically we get three options. So we have the option of pushing it to Snowflake. So we have their connection, which is automatically connected now to a warehouse. So I can select the database, I can select the schema, and then I can push it. Same goes for Databricks. We also have a connection there. So you select the catalog and then you push it. And actually the same goes for Datasphere. So there, same thing, same idea. We basically generate a SQL. Then we could generate the CSN files because actually Datasphere is using something completely different. So if you want to upload objects into your Datasphere space, you cannot just simply load the SQL, create a table, so execute a DDL statement in your data platform, like for instance what we do in Snowflake. So in Snowflake we have all these different tables, which basically represent data sources and DSOs and ADSOs. The view is, for instance, the multi-provider we have. You can also look at the logic the system generates. Then we have the loading procedures as well, which basically has all the information from the transformations. And we do that for Snowflake as well as for the Databricks side. So you can see that here as well. So there's probably somewhere a view which also shows me the multi-provider which we just saw. Let's take a look if we can find it somewhere. Probably not here. Yeah, there it is. So here's the view. Similar logic. So long story short, basically we can push all that information into the data platform. So if I can get my mouse under control, if we just, let's say for the sake of argument, push this to Datasphere. So let's first go to Datasphere. So let's log on to my data warehouse, or Datasphere tenant, I should say. So we go into the Datasphere tenant. And you will see that my Team Morocco space is fairly empty, so there is not much objects there. So let's just go there for a sec. So in the meantime, I will start pushing the data, because actually pushing the data takes a while. So because what you see here is that it's generating the CSN files from SQL and it's also deploying it into Datasphere. So for instance, that's exactly what it's doing now. You can see that there are no models generated yet. So we will see that it will generate the tables based on DSOs, ADSOs. It will generate the view. And it also basically outputs the CSNs on my local drive. So I could actually go into my local drive and take a look at the files which are being generated. I could do that. So that's something which can be done. So here, for instance, I have the CSNs. So it's automatically generating these CSNs for Datasphere, etc. So let's see where we are. So it's actually deployed already 2 tables. That's fast, relatively fast. So if I now switch between my screens, then basically you will see that it's automatically deployed the objects. So what the system actually is doing is that it generates the SQL. So basically the SQL statements it will take from the transformations, and it will figure out what the logic is in those SQL statements. So part of the data models will be automatically generated, like the multi-providers, the views, based on the complexity of the data model. So if it's very complex, we still, of course, keep the details of the formulas and the logic which comes out of the transformations, and we store that in files. So you can also always use that in your project. So you can always look at, okay, what exactly is the formula which is currently translated via a WavePath from BW logic into transformations, or into SQL, I should say. and you can use it as a basis, and all the easy stuff, or the relatively easy stuff, is being deployed automatically. And that's what we see here now. So let's see where, let's switch off Databricks and Snowflake for a sec. So we're already 7 out of 17. So it takes a while because, as you can imagine, Datasphere is quite picky on the order of objects. So you cannot deploy a view, of course, if the underlying table is not there. You can also not create a view if you don't first deploy all your underlying tables. So this looks like it takes a while, which it does, but actually what it does, it's generating the objects. Okay, so you probably believe me by now, so I will show you again what is being done. That it's still busy, and it's actually, so the last part is actually being busy now, so it's the deployment of the multi-provider. So yeah, it's done. Okay, so it's done. So let's go into the view, and then you actually see that it basically translated the view. All right, so that's part number one I would like to show you. Part number two, was already explained. So we can do waves, so we can calculate the complexity of the tool, determine how much effort there is, and you can also give the number of days per point. So let's say that you have a development team. We calculate, or WavePath calculates, the complexity of these data models, and you can label those with the number of days you think, as a development team, will take in order to translate into the target landscape. Now, if you take a complete BW system, then this is not a really weird figure, because 10 man-years, sometimes that happens, right, if you have many objects. But of course, once you press on scope, you can only transform the data models which are most important. So the reporting part, you already saw that we also have all the calculated key figures, and also all the restricted key figures. We have how often they are executed. We actually also generate, let's say, output which you can use for your team. So for instance, we have here a Excel file which will contain all the logic, all the objects. So we don't only generate, let's say, the dashboard itself, but we also generate, let's say, the transformation logic, all the calculated key figures, etc. Long story short, the last thing, which is very, very cool and we haven't shown before, is not this export to PDF button, but it's actually the AI assistant. So do you know that you can actually talk to your migration? So we actually implemented the WavePath migration assistant, and what this WavePath assistant does, it generates, it uses all the metadata we extracted from your BW system, and we feed that into the AI. So you can basically ask it questions. So now I ask it, give me the most, what did I ask it? I'm not even sure. Pull up, the number of transformations which are very complex, and it comes back with the transformations. That's one use case, but you can use as many use cases if you want. So it even got me, let's say, some recommended actions. Would you like me to drill into any specific transformation, or would you like a wave by wave breakdown? Let's take one. Let's take one. So let's take this transformation. See if that actually can be found. Give me information. And I'm doing this on the fly, as you can tell. On this transformation. See what happens. Okay, it needs to figure out what the technical ID is. Okay, figuring out what the lineage is. All right, there it is. So it found the ID, it found that it's very complex. It also figured out, let's say, what's in there, the target. There's an expert routine, so apparently there's also an ABAP or an AMDP in there. Gives all the fields, so yeah, you get the idea. And that's basically across all the app objects we have. So we could even ask it to So recommend which wave should I take? Which wave should cater for this flow and why? So it should actually give me an answer. That's a great question. If the AI mentions it's a great question, start wondering if it's a great question. So it's a very important one apparently because it's a two lists. The wave sequence logic is sound. So it's part of wave 2. It's also part of wave 3 because of course a BW system has multitude of data models. The Datasphere has no wave assignment. Yeah, so the report itself, of course, is not migrated. So even though we have the reports in the system, we don't actually give an advice on when to migrate your queries because that's a completely different discussion, right? Because queries are analytical models. In case of Datasphere, it's probably part of your Power BI dashboard if you use Snowflake or even Databricks. So the model could be on the Power BI side. So long story short, these are not taken into consideration, but of course they are still part of the data set we have. And you can look into them. All right, much information. Apologies for that, but I just wanted to show you, let's say, the new functionality we have currently today. And believe me, it's only getting better. Speak to you next time.